Yeah, well, I'm John Denton, a member of the Auckland Meccano Guild. I joined somewhere around about 10, 12 years ago when I retired, and I really hadn't done much with Meccano up till that time, but you know, I did get a number 10 set, which is this one here, which is the aspirations of most Meccano men, the number 10 set being the largest one that was available throughout the history of Meccano. And most of my Meccano started its life, with me anyway, as Meccano which I've reconditioned invariably. One or two of the models are made with Meccano as I found it, like this little Showman's engine, which is a copy of Holiday's Showman's traction engine, which was the winner at the Model Engineer exhibition in 1970. And it was interesting was that this was one of the early models that I made on retirement, and I'd been waiting to find some bits and pieces of gearing and parts, which I found in a second-hand shop in Panmure, a local second-hand store. And of course I was able to build that then. This one was produced from photographs of a Manx Norton motorcycle, which was winner at the Isle of Man TT. That's really one of my favourite models. This one is Roland Emmett's Nellie, based on his cartoons. Yeah, when I first did it, it worked perfectly, but it has survived for quite a few exhibitions now, and I think it's been subject to a little bit of wear and tear in the gearing and whatnot. Yeah, this one, I rather like to make models which look correct so far as the appearance is concerned. Meccano in its early days was just built of strips with lots of fresh air between, cordage put across to give the effect of a solid surface. But this is a model of an actual locomotive on the Taffrail colliery. This is around the world, a concept from the Constructor Quarterly, which was a magazine produced by the Sheffield Meccano Club in England, and is now sold worldwide as Constructor Quarterly. This one is a model of me done by my son. This one is a model by Concolly, who is a foreigner. It was produced from photographs, and it is a clockwork run model. This one is, well, everyone knows what the Spitfire looks like, with its oval-shaped wings, etc. This one was running. There we are.
What are the sort of things that stop them running? Is it just sort of old age or what?
Oh, yes, well, you know, this one has been to numerous shows, and the track is getting a little bit wobbly occasionally, and it does tend to stick. If you get a loose nut and bolt, it will catch on a bolt, and until you actually see, you know, you can run the batteries down, because this is a battery-driven effort. This one is interesting in as far as the introduction of memory parts, so-called, by Meccano, simply because they were made of extremely thin, high tensile material which you could bend into all sorts of configurations, and that would actually spring back into position. So that was an innovation by Meccano. A mini block setter crane, construct a quarterly magazine design again. This is interesting. This elephant was produced when Meccano was taken over by the Japanese firm, who now don't actually control Meccano. It's back in the hands of Meccano True in Cali. This Morgan three-wheeler was one of the first models that I built on retirement. My own idea, it wasn't to a design of any particular type at all. This little saw bench is an item that was made by Meccano in the early days, 20s, and it did actually cut. It has a very, very sharp blade, and it didn't last very long before it was withdrawn as being a bit of a menace to children. This one is an interesting one in as far as it is a model of an engine which actually exists in the Science Museum in London. And it is a rocking cylinder engine, which was a way of overcoming various mechanical effects which were covered by patents of the various people who made engines. And there are all sorts of devious ways of getting round valve operations and such like. These three models are in unrestored nickel plated Meccano, which was introduced originally when Meccano was first, when the idea of Meccano was first introduced back in the early 1900s. It's been made entirely in unrestored Meccano. So this has survived from around about 1907. This is what I call a twin rocking cylinder engine, and it just shows some of the mechanisms that were peculiar to types of engines which were introduced over the years, which shows the twin rocking cylinders, the actual valve control mechanisms by way of this rotating device with the balls which actually expand and control the input of the steam, and this one is the oil pump, etc.
Yes, I'm David Wall, the founder of the Auckland Meccano Guild. This is the largest model I built for some years, a Mississippi paddle steamer, built from those plans there. It's proved quite a popular exhibition model. There's this model. This was also scratch built. A bit of imagination there. It's a privateer. Quite a bit of fun building that. That's what they call scratch built. This model, on the other hand, is from specially prepared British model plans. It's a mechanical arm. Does all sorts of things. Here we have a Nuremberg clock, just with a single hand as they had in those days. That's clockwork, and that was built from plans from England. The next model is an electric clock. It's a synchronous clock, works on alternating current, and is reasonably accurate. My next model is, I call it the Fox and Fire. We were on holiday in Foxton a couple of years ago, and we found this little vehicle. It's the first little locomotive that ran from Foxton to Wanganui on wooden railway track, and it's scuttles along quite satisfactorily. This locomotive also runs on the same track. It's a 6-coupled radial tank engine of a British design. Again, that's scratch built. And this is the Jiving Jumbo. Originally it's out of a kit and it used to walk along, but you had great difficulty keeping up with it. It invariably fell off the end of the table. So I've mounted it on so it can do its tricks stationary. This little model is also electric. That was made from electric parts, a French offshoot of Meccano, and I must say extremely successful. And here we have what I've called dignity and impertinence, the magnificent Concorde aircraft compared to a tiny Marcolite. And my last model is a mechanograph, which is really a very old model, probably about 50 years old, the design. This had 1 or 2 improvements that were developed by a Dutch chap. These are the sorts of things it's capable of doing. It's a great favourite with children.
So tell us why you got into Meccano.
Well, the first time, I suppose, a generous grandfather gave me some Meccano before the Second World War. That ended up in a sandpit, as Meccano usually does. And then I started university rather late in life, and I'm not a very good student, and I wanted something tactile. And I went back to Meccano, and I've been at it now, I suppose, for 40 years. Well, we have 3 awards that will be presented tonight. This is the Bruce Baxter Memorial Trophy. Bruce was from Wanganui originally and was a very, very knowledgeable Meccano man. And this was prepared in memory of him. And it will be voted for by the exhibitors. This is one of the most important trophies of all. This is for the senior modeller. And it will also be presented. We will all have the opportunity to vote on the models that we like, what we think are best, and the winner will be presented with this, which is kept for 2 years until the next convention. This is the club trophy, and it is presented to the club that accrues the most points. As you can see, it's had quite a long history. I do hope the Auckland Guild manages to secure it tonight.
I'm John Freer, I'm from Taranaki, and I'm a member of the Manawatu, Wanganui and Taranaki Meccano Club. I've got 2 models on exhibition. Both models are steam engines. They're different from most models of steam engines. The drives that make them go are hidden. Most of the drives on most models have a chain or a belt or a gear drive driving the crankshaft. With my models, the drive comes from other sources. Now the model that is being filmed at present has a horizontal drive buried in the belly of the machine, which drives the piston, which in turn drives the crankshaft, and from there the motion goes to the other parts of the machine. With this model, the drive is hidden again under the machine, but has a small rubber pulley driving this flywheel, and that causes the machine to go through its motions. Both machines have been conceived in my mind, and I don't build with plans. In my models, as many parts as I can are genuine Meccano from varying eras, from far back as the 1950s right through to today's sets, which is noticeable with the plastic collars that They're in the model, and the same with the pump construction here. But to supplement those parts, I use any other manufacturer of Meccano type material, and a lot of parts that I use have been made by manufacturers who replicate Meccano. And some parts are made locally here in New Zealand.
You make any yourself?
No, I don't. I don't happen to have the machine tools to make the parts. So I'm solely buy them rather than manufacture. It can be an expensive hobby, but it's a hobby that the parts will last for 100 years plus. And the medium of Meccano has been going for over 110 years now.
I'm Neil Carey, been a member for the Meccano Guild for nearly 30 years now. I've built this model locomotive of the New Zealand Railways WW class locomotive. The loco was purchased by the Glenbrook Vintage Railway in 1970 for its railway out at Glenbrook. I have a personal interest in the locomotive. I fired the locomotive with another crew and relays from Wellington to Auckland on its delivery trip from Greymouth back in 1970. The model was built from just a basic plan using a scale ruler to get the right scale in conjunction with the half-inch hole spacing of Meccano parts. Over the years I've built several locomotives. Being a retired engine driver from New Zealand Railways, trains have always been my interest. So yeah, I've built several Meccano locomotives, New Zealand Railways KA class. Back in 1993 I built a model of the Union Pacific Challenger, number 3985, which is still operating in the US to this day.
My name's Gary Higgins. I've been a member of the Auckland Meccano Guild for about 15 or so years. I did leave and I rejoined at some stage in the past. There are two sections to the Meccano hobby. There's the collecting of the actual sets as they were when they were first produced, and there's the building things with those sets. And here we have an example of some of the collectible sets, starting off with this set, which is a 3X set, introduced in about 1919. Very early set. It came with a motor, one of the first electric motors that was put out. And at this stage, Meccano is being produced in the United States as well as in the UK. And this set comes from the United States. Quite, as I said, quite an early set. Then we'll come to this set, which is about 1922. You can tell that by the little 22A on the books. The books are a very good indication as to the years of the sets. And all the way along, Meccano were trying to make the sets interesting to people by having these rather lovely lithos of little boys playing with the sets on the covers. No little girls, just little boys.
And now they're big boys.
And now they're big boys, yeah, that's exactly right, yes. Here we went to a dramatic change in Meccano, where it went from being basically nickel plated and brass to colour. Colour was a big move, and they put the new Meccano all enamelled in here, as you can see. This is to make quite a statement to people that here we are, we've got something completely new, something bright, something everybody will like, and Meccano haven't looked back since. They've gone for every colour under the sun, from this original red and green right through to the kaleidoscope of colours we see today.
And I see the price went up from 1 shilling to 1 and sixpence.
It did indeed, yes. So you can see that on there, 1 shilling to 1 and sixpence. And the same sets today would probably be about $50 to $60 if we're looking, say, at a number 1 set, or even more. So yes, they have increased in price. This was an interesting year. This was 26 when the colour replaced the nickel, and this set is part nickel, part colour, as you can see. And so this is a number 5 set. The only bigger set than this was a number 6 set at the time, and this was a humongous set, a very big set. So you can build just about anything with this type of set. Beside this, we have a collection of Meccano magazines. They themselves are being collectible. They started about 1920, well, I think 16. It might have been 16 when they first came out, and they were just a single printed sheet when Frank Hornby first put them out. And they grew and grew and grew and grew right through until about the 80s, when they gradually met their own demise. People weren't buying as much Meccano, weren't building with it as much. These sets will build from a 4 to a 5 and from a 3